His first start as a New York Met. Blair making his 24th start overall. He's also made 4 relief appearances. And Willie Blair was hit pretty hard in Arizona while a member of the Diamondbacks after signing a free agent contract. So the doubleheader begins as Delino DeShields takes up and in from Willie Blair. DeShields came off the disabled list a couple of weeks ago. In fact, he came off, come to think of it, last Monday just before the Mets Cardinals series began. Goes after the second pitch and hits it in the air to right field. Phillips trying to find it through the sun, and he does. Well, last night the second pitch was yanked out of the yard by Darrell Hamilton of the Rockies, and under Delino DeShields hits a long fly ball. So one man out. The rest of the Cardinal lineup features Brian Jordan among the league's leading hitters in right field. You know who is at first. Langford in center with Willie McGwire, the veteran, getting the start in left field. Fernando Tatis, the third baseman. Tom Lampkin gets the start behind the plate. Again, the pitcher hits 8th these days for Tony La Russa. That's Donovan Osborne, and the shortstop Luis Ordaz bats 9th. A slider outside to Brian Jordan. Jordan on a 6-game hitting streak. He's tied for 6th in the National League in batting at .325. And the fastball lifted to the right side. Matt Franco hoping for a play.
Ooh.
And he's got it.
Well, that sun is going to be tough for a while. We saw Tony Phillips after catching that ball. He looked like a battered boxer. Here's the story.
Visiting players are not often treated with the degree of reverence that McGwire not only was just now, but was all throughout batting practice. I have never seen Shea Stadium as electrified for BP as it was a little over an hour ago.
And he put on quite a display. I was standing with Tony La Russa, and he said he never gets sick of watching it.
Nor should he. It is pure baseball.
By the way, Mike Piazza also was well received and put on quite a display.
1 ball, 1 strike to McGwire. When he gets to 50, and it could be any pitch or any day, and the Mets hope it's not for a couple of days anyway, he'll be the first ever to hit 50 home runs 3 consecutive years. 2-1 as Blair continues to work him away.
When you think about it, he could have done it when his first year in the major leagues. He went home because his son Matt was born, and he said, I can always hit 50 home runs.
2 balls and 2 strikes to McGwire, and against Mark McGwire on the infield, the Mets are over shifting. 3 infielders to the left side of second base, even the outfield playing McGwire to pull.
Rarely hits the ball over the fence in right field, but he can do it.
And the 2-2 to McGwire. Breaking ball low, and the count full.
Talking about those 50 home runs. Fastest to 50. Babe, Roger Maris, Jimmy Fox, Hank Greenberg, and Mickey Mantle.
And the payoff pitch to McGwire. Fastball got him. Willie Blair not only gets McGwire, but he gets the Cardinals in order. Middle of the first, St. Louis nothing, and here come the Mets. Well, the guy on the left won the first duel. That's Willie Blair, who freezes McGwire.
Blair throwing a good fastball right on the corner. McGwire taking strike 3. That's McGwire's reaction. How about Bobby Valentine's reaction? What's this? And Bob Apodaca behind Bobby Valentine.
Tony Phillips takes a ball. Well, the Mets' philosophy, and we talked about this last week in St. Louis, they're going after McGwire. You know, obviously the game situation as it evolves might dictate a pitch around, but they want to be aggressive with him. Willie Blair, although keeping it away most of the at-bat, did hit the outer corner with a fastball for the 3rd strike. 2-0 here to Tony Phillips, and again these numbers, the composite between his work with Toronto and the New York Mets. Donovan Osborne hits the outside corner, 2-1. Phillips has had 3 hits in 9 at-bats on this homestand. Perfect one so far, with the Mets having swept the Colorado Rockies. Fly to right. Brian Jordan has it, and there's 1 man away. Well, the outfielders having to peer through the sun in the early going here.
Number 23, center fielder.
And with one out, Jermaine
Allensworth.
Allensworth will be next. Well, that glare tells you that the outfielders might have some adventures this afternoon. And for Donovan Osborne, it's been another troubled season physically. These numbers are so small, relatively speaking, because he was on the disabled list with left shoulder problems. Again, he's had shoulder problems throughout his career as he throws strike one to Jermaine Allensworth. In fact, Osborne's last start before going on the DL was against the Mets. The only game these teams were able to play here at Shea Stadium in May before rain wiped out the weekend. So Osborne here ahead of Allensworth. No balls, 2 strikes. Inside with a fastball. Allensworth 3 hits and 10 times at bat as a New York Met. Joined them in Kansas City last week. And the 1-2 pitch inside. Well, as a hitter, Fran, as an outfielder, I mean, how do these shadows affect different players?
Well, it could have an effect right now because of that shadow, the shadow in front of the mound. You see the sunlight coming through. That might have somewhat of an effect.
Allensworth hits it in the air to left field. No problem for Willie McGee. 2 fly ball outs to start the Mets half of the first inning. So you've seen Phillips and Allensworth. Let's get a look at the rest of the New York Mets lineup for game 1 of this twilight doubleheader. Matt Franco coming up now, giving Olerud a rest. Olerud's been in every game. Mike Piazza behind the plate in the cleanup spot with Alfonso down in the 5-hole again at third. Todd Hundley in left field batting 6th. He has really struggled against southpaws. Luis Lopez, Ray Ordonez, and Willie Blair round out the Mets game 1 lineup. And Matt Franco takes a strike from Osborne. For Matt Franco, it's his 24th start of the year, only his 4th at first base. I mentioned John Olerud's been in every game.
And defensively for the Cardinals, McGee, Langford, and Jordan in the outfield. Tatis, Ordaz, DeShields, and McGwire left, right in the infield. Lampkin behind the plate.
And another fly ball. This one again to McGee in left field. And so 3 balls hit in the air by the New York Mets, and they go quietly in the first. Each side is gone in order. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by the new Dodge. It's about change. And as this is a twilight doubleheader, fans will trickle into the ballpark at times, although I don't know, Frank, what would you estimate the crowd was by the time McGwire took BP?
It was a pretty big crowd, and I mean, they responded to everything McGwire did. I'll tell you, I was in the clubhouse after he got through with batting practice. To me, he looked drained after BP. He said it's like playing a doubleheader, so today it's going to be like playing 3 games. I mean, when he goes to the bat in batting practice, he has to hit a number of balls out.
And he did.
And I mentioned Piazza. Piazza put on quite a display, and the fans who assembled to watch McGwire take BP responded in a very positive fashion to Mike Piazza.
1-0 on Ray Langford leading off the second. Slices it foul to even the count. One of the things we noticed about McGwire's at-bats last week is that every time a pitch was delivered to him in St. Louis, flashbulbs popped.
Yeah.
And some of that same stuff was going on here at Shea Stadium. A little bit tougher to tell during the afternoon, but as we get into the darkness a little bit later tonight, that'll be a neat sight.
In watching the press conference today with McGwire, I thought of the late Roger Maris.
Langford grounds one up the middle, and Ray Langford has a leadoff single here in the second.
And defensively for the Mets in the first game, it's right there. Alfonso, Ordonez, Lopez, and Franco in the infield. Hundley and Phillips along with Allensworth in the outfield. Piazza behind the plate. 7th starting center fielder, Jermaine Allensworth, playing center field in the first game of this double dip.
And as popular as McGwire is in St. Louis, here's the guy who really has owned the town for a while as far as baseball is concerned. Willie McGee, perhaps finishing out his career with the Cardinals. It's one in the air to left field. Hundley puts it away. Langford was almost all the way down to second base and has plenty of time to get back.
Hundley looking a little bit more relaxed in left field. If he played left field a lot more, he'd be a pretty decent left fielder. And I talked to Todd Hundley before the ball game and asked him who he thinks will win the home run crown in the National League, McGwire or Sosa. And he said it depends on the hitters in front of them, not behind them. They have to clog up the bases so they can't pitch around McGwire or Sosa.
Well, McGwire's had the benefit of Ray Lankford, who's hitting in front of him and singled this time up, having a great second half.
You know, usually they say it's the guy hitting behind him, but Todd said it's going to depend on the guys hitting in front of him.
This is Fernando Tatis swinging and missing. Tatis acquired last month from the Texas Rangers, the deal that sent Todd Stottlemyre and Royce Clayton to the American League.
Stottlemyre might be back next year. He's a free agent, and he likes Tony La Russa.
Slowly hit. Ordonez charging. Gets the out at first, so Tatis retired. Lankford down to second. Now there are 2 men away.
So Lankford on second base. Talking about Todd Stottlemyre, when he was traded to Texas with Royce Clayton, he told the clubhouse guy with the Cardinals, don't give my uniform number away. So that might be telling Tony La Russa and the Cardinals he'd be interested in coming back. I know Tony said before the game he'd be very interested in having Todd back, but they needed to pick up a young third baseman. He said they have a lot of good shortstops in the minor leagues, but they needed a third baseman, and Tatis should fill the bill.
Just got a peek at Dave Duncan, the pitching coach. He and Tony La Russa have been an injury going back to Chicago. So now here's Tom Lampkin. He had a pinch hit home run against the Mets last week in St. Louis, getting the start behind the plate in game 1. Splits the catching now with Eli Marrero. Tom Pagnazzi, the third catcher, was released just a couple of days ago.
And one of the things that hurt Pagnazzi, injury prone, and they couldn't carry him. They needed to bring up another pitcher, so they ended up releasing Tom Pagnazzi. Our cameras caught him peeking back when we were in St. Louis. Did that have any effect on the release?
Well, Al Leiter had nothing to do with getting him released, but he probably applauded. Not wanting to put words in Al's mouth. I mean, certainly you wouldn't, if you're a baseball player, want to see somebody else lose their job, but the runner on second here and 2 out, second inning. Leiter wasn't happy about Pagnazzi peaking. And the breaking ball. Leiter in front, 1-2. I'm sure Al didn't want to see Pagnazzi lose his job, but he did say that he wanted to talk about that peaking incident with him. Now Al's peaking. Bobby Jones on the right. He'll pitch on Saturday on 3 days rest. Lampkin fouls it off. Still 1 ball, 2 strikes to the Cardinal catcher. Bobby Jones coming back on short rest.
That should not be a problem. Not for Bobby Jones. He's not an overpowering pitcher. He paces himself pretty good. And Bobby Valentine can go to his bullpen in a hurry. The bullpen doing a good job now. And Bobby is very high in the bullpen.
Lankford started the inning with a single. He's in scoring position with 2 outs. And the 1-2 to Lampkin. Got him upstairs with a fastball. Second strikeout for Willie Blair. Each one has ended an inning. No runs, a hit. Middle of the second. No score. Well, sports fans, you can watch sports 24 hours a day and pass it off as research. Fox Sports Net is introducing a brand new game show, and they're looking for contestants. So if you've got mad sports knowledge, get ready for the Ultimate Fan League. For contestant information, call 1-888-448-4UFL or send the email to foxufl@aol.com. Mike Piazza leads off the Mets second and takes a fastball from Donovan Osborne for ball 1. Piazza, Alfonso, and Hundley here in the second inning for the Mets. And the fastball evens the count.
He had a nice night last night against the Rockies. A big hit with the bases loaded, driving in 1 run, and then later on in the game helping out by sliding hard into Kurt Abbott at second base, allowing another run to score as Brian McRae beat the throw to first base, and that turned out to be the winning run.
Yeah, back in the 3rd inning, so 2 straight nights now. Piazza has been especially productive. Of course, he had the bases clearing 3-run double.
Look at it. You just saw those stats on the screen. If you saw those stats 10 years ago for a catcher or 5 years ago, what would you say? Pretty impressive stats.
1-2 from Osborne just off the outside corner.
Ask Fred Heenan, who's the strongest guy in the Mets right now. I said, Mike Piazza. And he hits from the waist up. Look at that.
Ray Langford backing up on it. Looked like he hit that one off a tee.
He did. He hit it one-handed, and because of his strength, he hit it too far. Hit the ball off the end of the bat, hit it one-handed. And the center fielder, Langford, had to go back. Look at this. Completely fooled. And he knew it was an out. But Langford, look at Langford. He's got to go back on the ball.
How'd you like to have your power completely spent, be totally fooled, and hit it about 350 feet? Edgardo Alfonso takes a strike on the inside corner.
See, he's talking about being fooled. It's almost like occasionally Mike's on his heels. It's got to be confusing to him. But I'll tell you, we're talking about that batting practice today with McGwire. Boy, Piazza was very impressive.
What a sight that was, though. I mean, coming to this ballpark since it opened in 1964, that was a first to see batting practice, that kind of an event. And everybody was so totally immersed in every swing that McGwire took.
You know, Howie, I mentioned earlier Roger Maris. I thought of him during the press conference today because, I mean, he was besieged every day, and the Yankees at that time didn't say, okay, let's have a press conference when we go in town. And it became, I mean, his personality, I'm sure, changed. You become cantankerous. Well, Mark McGwire, I thought he did a great job in the press conference. Added a little humor. Handled all the questions very well. And it's over.
Yeah, he'll talk after games, but pre-game, every city he goes to now, they'll stage a press conference as they did here, and that's it. 1-2 to Alfonso. 1 out, last of the second, no score. 2-2 now to Fonzie. Alfonso hitting at .373 over his last 13 games, 100 points less than that for the season. But a good bounce back month for Edgardo. Lays off and the count full. Donovan Osborne has been on the disabled list at least once every season from 1994 until this one. Low and outside, and the Mets have their first base runner. 1 out walk to Alfonso, and that'll bring up Todd Hundley. And just think about the problems now that Todd has had since coming back against left-hand pitching. He's 1 for 12. The other 11 outs have all been strikeouts. That's against left-hand pitching.
I asked Todd about his throwing, and he said he's been working with Fred Heenan on the catcher's throw, but he still has sharp pain through his forearm.
Todd will have another procedure. He calls it a procedure rather than surgery, but it's somewhat semantic. He will have some stuff cleaned up in there after the season.
I'm amazed he came back as soon as he did. I mean, you talked about Jay Payton having that operation. He rushed back and re-injured the arm and had to have it operated on again.
Well, 1-0 to Hundley in there for a strike. That evens the count.
But I asked Todd about his statistics. I said, can you play the season and not focus on stats, your offensive stats, and just hope every now and then you can pop one and help the team win a game? He said it's tough not to look at the statistics.
He's still counting those 2 home runs he hit in Florida during rehab. He says he's got 4 for the season now. And Osborne in front, 1-2. Todd, a much better hitter left-handed than right-handed, not just the short sample this year, but throughout his career. In fact, his .210 average against left-hand pitchers lifetime, the second lowest among active players.
Remember, Todd Hundley and Sammy Sosa were going at it one year for that home run crown. Todd doesn't think a catcher will ever lead the league in home runs this day and age because of how grueling it is, the schedule on a catcher.
And the breaking ball, 2-2 to Hundley. Only Jack Howell, who has a 180 lifetime average, is lower against southpaws than Hundley. And Piazza, of course, hits them very, very well.
Piazza with 40 home runs one year. Todd Hundley with 41. It'd be tough to hit more than that.
Fouled straight back, still 2-2.
And he talked about, you know, the home run chase now with Sosa and McGwire, and he said that they're going to be rested. They should be fine as far as getting to the plate late in the ball game. They should be rested. And of course, he's talking from experience because he's a left fielder now.
You can appreciate rest on a totally different level. Short lead at first for Alfonso. But Osborne wants to keep him close. 2-2 to Hundley, and as much as he's been striking out from the right side, it's a difficult proposition for Bobby Valentine to put Alfonso in motion. Plus, the Mets have hit 4 balls in the air already against Donovan Osborne, which would lessen the possibility of a double play. But we'll see. It's 2-2 as Alfonso measures his lead. He's not going, and Hundley stays alive.
Good pitch for Todd to hit right there. A little bit late, swinging under the ball. From the right side, he's a little bit late. And from the left side, he's on top of this pitch. Look at this. Ball beat him just a little bit.
Still 2-2 with Alfonso at first. Time called. 1 man out. We're in the last of the second. First of a twilight doubleheader. The first of successive doubleheaders between the Mets and the Cardinals. Darren Oliver, another left-hander, will pitch for the Cardinals in Game 2 against Rick Reed, Bobby Valentine's choice. And again, Hundley down on strikes. So that's 12 out of 13 times now that Todd's batted right-handed this year. He has gone down on strikes. 2 men away.
Hundley swinging through the pitch. It gets frustrating, and you can tell it, and it bothers Todd. He's not going to be able to say, well, this is my rehab year and I just got to continue going out there. The more you swing and miss, the more you lose your confidence from the right side of the plate.
So 2 away now. Luis Lopez coming up. Lopez also a switch hitter, batting right. And a strike, 0-1. Lopez nominally better left-handed this year than right-handed. 272 left-handed, 259 from the right side. But with Carlos Baerga struggling for the most part, batting right-handed, Carlos will sit out Game 1 and presumably play Game 2, even with left-hander Darren Oliver pitching for St. Louis. And a chopper. Ordaz takes it himself, and the side's retired. No runs, no hits, a walk, and 1 left. Mets and Cardinals have played 2, scoreless. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by your local Chrysler Plymouth dealers. About 3 hours and the sun will set here in New York, but right now bright sunshine at Shea Stadium, where the Mets and Cardinals are playing Game 1 of a twilight doubleheader. And we go to the 3rd scoreless. Donovan Osborne, the Cardinals pitcher, leads off, but he's not hitting 9th. He's batting 8th. And although he's a pretty good hitter for a pitcher, although not really this year, it's not because of his hitting prowess that he's in that 8th slot. Tony La Russa has done this for about a month now. All of his pitchers batting 8th, trying to get an extra man on base by the time McGwire comes up.
I talked to Tony about this, and he said, you know, we're going to try it and see how it works. Wants to get runners on those bases.
Luis Ordaz, a light-hitting shortstop, is on deck. And Osborne rips it right to Matt Franco, 1 man away.
I also mentioned to Tony La Russa about the short man out of the bullpen, the closer. I said, you know, you're getting credit for starting that. He said, nah. He said, I probably stole the idea from somebody else. But the guy he used was Dennis Eckersley, and he told me that Dennis Eckersley was livid that he was going to be a relief pitcher. Didn't want to continue as a relief pitcher. Wanted to be a starter.
It's his ticket to the Hall of Fame.
That's right. We're talking about that.
Luis Ordaz batting 9th. Ordaz taking over at shortstop most of the time after the trade of Royce Clayton. They have also used Placido Polanco at shortstop. And saw Polanco 1 of the 3 games last week in St. Louis. And Willie Blair misses away. 2 balls, no strikes. Willie Blair, his first start as a New York Met. And the Mets bullpen is in excellent shape coming into this doubleheader because of the way the starters have been able to work deep on a consistent basis. Ordonez, a lot of time, and there's 2 men down now. are anyway. Somewhere there was a grammarian set to hit the keyboard. So Ordonez picks up his second assist of the game. Back to the top of the order now for the Cardinals and Delino DeShields. They'll have well over 40,000 by the time everyone settles in. And at least as big a crowd tomorrow night.
Don't forget Beanie Baby Day this weekend.
Slider inside, no swing, says Paul Newart. 1-0 on DeShields. Arizona Diamondbacks will be here for the Beanie Babies on Saturday. One and one now to Delino DeShields. Chicago Cubs have won their game. They beat the Giants 7-3. So of course that helps the Mets out insofar as the Giants are the third of three teams right now in close contention for the wild card. Mets were 3 up on San Francisco at the start of play today and 1 game ahead of the Cubs, 2 in the loss column. So at this moment the Mets are 5 games ahead of the Giants in the loss column. 1-2 to DeShields in the dirt. Willie Blair is your basic 4-pitch pitcher. Fastball, curve, slider, change.
So far he's looked very good. Of course we're in the top of the 3rd inning. But I thought it was a great expression on Bobby Valentine's face after the strikeout of McGwire.
And the 2-2 to DeShields. Missed away.
Blair should be a better pitcher here in New York than he was in Arizona. You're with an expansion club. Now you come to a contending club, a club that's fighting for the wild card division, and you're a better player. You're a better pitcher.
And the payoff pitch got him. So for the 3rd straight inning, Willie Blair has ended with a strikeout. Got McGwire in the 1st, Lampkin in the 2nd, and he catches DeShields looking here. We're still scoreless. Go get yourself curly on Saturday at Shea Stadium. It's Beanie Baby Day again, sponsored by Tide Beanie Babies. Mets of the Diamondbacks, and all kids 14 and under will get Curly the Beanie Baby. For tickets, call 718-507-TIXX. Last of the 3rd here in game 1. Ray Ordonez takes a strike from Donovan Osborne. Ordonez has cooled off a bit with a bat during this homestand with just 2 hits and 12 at bats. And the 0-1 on the inside corner, so Osborne quickly ahead 2 strikes. Donovan Osborne's 8th start of the year. This is with a fastball. We saw some Ordonez defense last night.
Yeah, come on out Saturday and get your Beanie Babies, and also watch this guy, everybody's favorite, Ray Ordonez. No stride, just throwing the ball across the infield. Watch this, gets it, strong arm.
And Ordonez just lined directly into the glove of Delino DeShields for the 1st out here in the 3rd inning.
Come on out, watch Ray Ordonez. He's worth the price of admission. He will fascinate you with his defense.
Only one position player could have been thrown out on that slow roller in the hole last night, and that was a catcher. Willie Blair, the Mets pitcher, takes low, 1-0.
Well, all I can tell you is the catchers are getting faster.
You don't see any center fielders hitting a slow roller like that and being thrown out. Although Kurt Manwaring and our cameras also felt that Manwaring might have beaten the throw by a half a step.
He did. Our cameras were right.
But of course it went into the books as a 6-3, and Ray will take the assist.
I thought the first base umpire got caught up in the excitement, which you could easily do.
Willie Blair loops one foul. That was Paul Schreiber, the first base umpire last night. 1-2 now to Willie Blair, who needs some new lumber. Or maybe some pine tar. Nope.
How about our Aflac question? Howie Rose never gets this. Who was the last starter to pitch a complete game shutout?
Well, now
the St. Louis Cardinals?
See, now you've challenged me, but I know that it doesn't. Well, there's your hint. Okay.
Okay. Hide the Elias notes. Okay, that's where the answer is.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Osborne to Blair, and the count's even.
Now, you're very good at this trivia.
You're not supposed to get him if you don't do your homework. Willie Blair is a hitter this year, 5 for 49, but 1 for 1 as a Met. And now the count full to Blair. Willie Blair with his 18 in the 1990s. Only 4 players, including Willie, have done that. And Blair has worked out a walk. So Osborne loses the opposing pitcher.
I was just going to say Renee Latchman, who was also a good friend of Tony La Russa and played with Tony in Des Moines, Iowa, at AAA. One of his coaches. Tony has Renee Latchman and Dave Duncan, who's been a longtime friend and an ex-teammate of, or former teammate of Tony La Russa. There's Renee Latchman, who managed in the major leagues, managed a couple ball clubs.
Tony Phillips takes ball 1 from Donovan Osborne. Well, last night with the Rockies in town, it was a walk to Masato Yoshii in the 3rd inning. Leadoff walk, in fact, which started the Mets en route to their 2-run inning, which turned out to be all they needed to beat left-hander Bobby Jones. 2-0 now to Phillips, and so Tom Lampkin's going to try and tell Donovan Osborne where home plate's been relocated to.
All you do is try to go out and change his rhythm.
Well, what a nightmare career physically Donovan Osborne's had, and Dave Duncan hasn't seen all of it. He's supervised the last few years since La Russa's been here, but just think about what Osborne's gone through. He missed all of 1994 because of shoulder problems. Butch is going to have to work on that before he's activated again, but Osborne been on the DL each of the last 5 years. And that's a strike, 2-1. So whatever Lampkin said worked.
Sometimes the pitcher be pressing and you go out to the mound and just stop. And look at Husky got that hat. Well, and he didn't get it that time.
That's when you know you've been on the DL too long.
Well, that's when you know your head's too big for the hat.
A check swing. Osborne gets 1 at second. Back to first, a double play. So Tony Phillips didn't mean to swing, and it cost him 2 outs. No runs, no hits, a walk, nobody left. 3 in the books, game 1. No score.
Bobby Higginson and the Tigers try and slow down the Halos' hunt for a playoff spot. Baseball Thursday on Fox Sports New York.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Omnipoint. 100% digital, 0% hassle.
Well, Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, former catcher, talking mechanics with Osborne. Looked like Osborne was saying the ball was taking off on him. Duncan trying to tell him, keep your body back and let your arm catch up to your body. If you get the body too far out in front, you'll have a high release point. Watch Duncan. See that body going on in front? You got to keep that body quiet. You got to let the arm catch up so you can have a consistent release point. Duncan has been an excellent pitching coach, and he was a former catcher, long-time catcher in the major leagues. In fact, in the minor leagues, Duncan hit about 49 home runs one year. Speaking of home runs, the big fellas on deck as we go to the top of the 4th inning. No score, the Cards and the Mets. And Brian Jordan bounces to third. Score it. Whoa, wait a minute. It's called foul by the home plate umpire after the third base umpire called it fair.
Bobby Valentine's going right out to home plate ump Angel Hernandez to ask why. Alfonso went right to the line, but Bobby Valentine is satisfied with the explanation. Alfonso did a good job just getting over. Now it's where the ball goes over the bag.
Wow. I'll tell you, that might have had a piece of that bag going over it. According to our camera, which doesn't miss anything, but the third base umpire, Paul Newert, said it was fair, and Angel Hernandez, the home plate umpire, overruled him. So Brian Jordan gets another chance and takes down low 1-1. St. Louis Cardinals and the Mets, the first of a 2-game I should say first of a doubleheader today, first of a 4-game series, doubleheader tomorrow night here at Chase. Swung out and missed. 1-2. But the story here tonight is the man on deck for the Cardinals. He's got 49 home runs. He put on quite a display in batting practice. He just stares at that pitcher on the mound from the on-deck circle. Down low, 2-2.
So Mark McGwire doing homework, watching intently, trying to see the release point and the ball movement from Willie Blair.
And the 2-2 pitch. Pulled foul. So we'll do it again at 2-2. It's almost like he uses it as a timing device from the on-deck circle.
Is he visualizing?
No, he's just watching. And you could see him exhale. Is that to relax him? I guess it's to relax himself.
It's to breathe.
Theatrically. Popped up to Ordonez. Easy play.
This game's gotten too analytical. Now we're analyzing breathing.
See if he does it again.
All right, so McGwire has done his homework. All right, he breathed.
That was that last pitch to Brian Jordan, who popped it up to Ordonez. The big fella's about 250 pounds, and he is relaxed at the plate. Right on the corner. Now, he didn't like that call. Look at how relaxed he is at the plate when he's just flipping that bat around in front of him. And the 0-1 pitch. And there's a line drive caught by Alfonso. Looked like McGwire hit on top of that ball.
Mark McGwire has had virtually no success against Willie Blair, and not just today, now that he's 0 for 2 after striking out the first time and hitting a hard line drive up the bat right at Edgardo Alfonso, at least in his direction anyway. And he gives the bat away to a little girl. That's great.
How about that? Now, you should have seen the crowd down there around the dugout wanting to get that bat. That's a nice gesture.
Broke his bat, which is why he gave it away so quickly, but he's now just 2 for 18 against Willie Blair in his career.
2-minute gone now. Ray Langford, the batter. Outside, ball 1. Langford 1 for 1. He singled in the second inning. Dad's going to protect that bat.
I wonder if that's the one he hit 2 home runs with yesterday.
It doesn't seem to matter to McGwire. As Langford, it's a high fly ball. Another can of corn for Ordonez. Ordonez makes the grab, and that'll do it for the Cardinals here in the top of the 4th. McGwire's 0 for 2. We have no score, and we'll be back.
Well, Mark McGwire now 0 for 2. Talked at a press conference earlier today about the home run chase. He's got 49 coming into play today. And to an extent, McGwire admits he's kind of talked out on the subject.
I don't know what more to talk about. We've been talking about some spring training, but now you can say, well, hey, this guy legitimately has a shot to do it, you know, and that's what I truly believe ever since I was a young kid hitting home runs. I mean, if somebody gets to 50 by September, they have a shot down the run, down the stretch run to either tie, break, or get close to it.
Say here today that you have a legitimate chance to break the record.
Well, I'll say it once I hit 50. I gotta say it. I gotta stay with my statement.
He's a charming guy, Mark McGwire. They want him to hit the bullseye here at Shea. And the Met fans want the Mets to win. No score, bottom of the 4th inning. And Jermaine Allensworth strikes out, 1 down. I guess the most coveted plateau of any plateau in sports. The home run record.
Well, I think this clearly is the most glamorous record in all of sports, and that's one of the reasons that everybody's been on McGwire's back about it literally since opening day, because he started his assault on Maris immediately, and after coming close last year with 2 teams, there was going to be attention focused on him from the beginning this time.
And Matt McGwire fouls the pitch off. Mark McGwire is also involved in a charity for abused children and women. In fact, he and Tony La Russa are going to combine their charities, and they're going to show how animals, how they play a role in the happiness of the battered women and children. It's going to be quite a thing. Tony La Russa was telling me about it before the game, so they're going to be doing a lot of work together during the offseason. And Tony is heavily involved in the rescue of animals. He has an animal rescue shelter as Matt Franco with the line off the glove of Delino DeShields. So Franco reaches base on an error.
Third base runner for the New York Mets. The first two reached via bases on balls. And this one was a line drive right at the second baseman, Delino DeShields. Looked like DeShields was going to catch it cleanly, but it ticked off the edge of the glove. And it is an error against DeShields. So Matt Franco becomes a one-out base runner.
So Franco on first, bottom of the fourth inning. And the batter, Mike Piazza. Piazza with 21 home runs. Up high to Piazza.
So Delino DeShields charged with an error by that man, Ray Foley. Ray Foley? Well, his real name's Red.
He's only known him 20 years.
He's the scorer of the game, and that's brought to you by NAM, National Arbitration and Mediation. What other decision could Red have made?
Well, Matt Franco's on first base. The old beach ball trick at Shea Stadium.
Bet you that little baseball has looked like a beach ball sometimes this year to McGwire.
And to Piazza. Ooh. 1-1 on Piazza. Last week the Mets were in St. Louis. Everybody came out to see Mark McGwire. He did hit his 47th home run. But in that series, Todd Hundley hit a McGwire-like home run to right field. 1-1 on Piazza. Matt Franco leading off first base. 1 out, no score. Swung on and missed. 1-2.
For each home run hit by the Mets this season, Fox Sports New York makes a contribution to the Ronald McDonald House charities.
His first at bat, Mike Piazza hit a fly ball to center field. He was fooled. The center fielder had to go back on it. You're looking at Big Mac, Mark McGwire, sitting on 49 home runs. Holding Matt Franco close to first. And no, they checked the runner at first base. 1-2 on Piazza. He'll be followed by Alfonso. Piazza got a nice reception when he was hitting balls out of the park in batting practice. In fact, he had the attention of Mark McGwire. McGwire was out there stretching, and he was admiring how far Piazza was hitting that ball.
Last couple of days at Wrigley Field, the attention during BP was on McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Sosa went 0 for 4 today, and the Cubs 7-3 win over the Giants. So McGwire still leads Sammy by 1, 49-48 in the home run chase.
And the 1-2 pitch fouled back. Tony La Russa was telling me before the game that in Chicago, when Sammy Sosa would run out to right field, of course the people would get up and he would interact with the people out there. And Tony said to Mark, that's what you should do in St. Louis, interact with those people around first base. He said, it's not my personality. But he get a big kick out of Sosa. Tony flashing signs. How about the Continental Airlines home run leaders? Mark McGwire 49, Sammy Sosa 48. Greg Vaughn having a nice year at 40. Galarraga and Castillo. 1-2 pitch. Fouled back.
Tell you what, McGwire's personality, even though it might not be quite as gregarious as some others who have been under a similar spotlight over the years, is just fine.
Well,
he stood by the railing for a good 15 minutes after he finished hitting, signing autographs for kids. 10, 15, probably up to 15 minutes.
And what a sight. All the cameras were around him as he was signing autographs. And that young lady got a broken bat. Of course, he'd like to give her a bat that's not broken, because that means you didn't hit the ball real good. 1-2 on Piazza. Swung on and missed. Piazza goes down swinging, 2 outs.
Third strikeout for Donovan Osborne, who won a battle here with Piazza. Mike threw, or at least fouled, several pitches off. This pitch right around the knees.
That's a good swing. Piazza's got a nice swing right there. Just misses the ball. So 2 men are gone. Donovan Osborne will now take on Edgardo Alfonzo. Piazza back in the dugout. But the Mets have a base runner and Matt Franco with 2 outs. They check Franco at first base. I mentioned earlier how McGwire, after batting practice in the Cardinal clubhouse, to me looked like he was tired from BP. A lot of stress during BP for Mark McGwire. Outside. I wasn't there, but I'd have to think that Roger Maris, although he hit the 61 home runs, BP, there wasn't the pressure that is on Mark McGwire because McGwire hits the ball so far. That's why the people are interested in his BP. Those cameras are certainly interested in the big guy.
Now, I mentioned all the autographs that McGwire signed, and you know, certainly that's just a few rows worth of fans and a lot of photographers, but you have to appreciate that usually during batting practice, what are there, 5,000 people in the stands? There were probably close to 20 for this.
There's a ball, 3-0 on Alfonzo. So 3 balls and no strikes. 2 men are out. Donovan Osborne taking on Edgardo Alfonzo. Todd Hundley on deck. There's a strike, 3-1. Alfonzo walked in the 2nd inning. One thing you don't want to lose sight of is the Mets are pursuing the wild card. And pursuing it vigorously. And there's a drive to left field. McGee is there and gloves it. That'll do it for the Mets. They strand a runner here in the bottom of the 4th. They failed to score in front of a big crowd. First game of 2. No score. The Cards and the Mets.
You're watching Mets baseball on Fox Sports New York.
This copyrighted telecast is authorized under television rights granted by the New York Mets solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and Fox Sports New York is prohibited.
Willie McGee, longtime Cardinal favorite, steps in and takes down low ball 1. We're at the top of the 5th inning. First game of the double dip here at Shea Stadium. This place will be packed before the 2nd game is over. No score, the Cards and the Mets. McGee, who's 0 for 1, bounces to Franco, and they get up and running on the baseline. I'll say one thing, Angel Hernandez is a hustler. He was right down there at first base.
Well, Franco had 2 opportunities here, tag him or force him wide, and Willie McGee called for being out of the baseline, and so the put out to Franco, 1 man away.
Willie McGee planned on retiring a couple of years ago, and Tony La Russa talked him out of it. You don't know what's going to happen next year, but this guy will be around. Fernando Tatis, coming over from the Texas Rangers, young 3rd baseman, grounded out his first time up. Cardinals are very high on him. So high that they released Gary Gaetti. Swung on and missed.
Chicago Cubs picked up Gaetti.
0-2 on Tatis. Russo said it was a tough decision, but they wanted to get this kid to the Rangers and they wanted to play him. Tatis with 2 home runs and 6 RBIs. He's got 4 doubles. 0 for 1 in this game. Breaking ball. Strike 3. Tatis doesn't agree. He might have a pretty good complaint.
Well, Willie Blair, complaint or none, has been outstanding. Good bite on the breaking ball here from Blair as he picks up his 4th strikeout.
Was it outside? Tatis is surprised. You see where the glove is off the plate. Look at that.
You talk all the time about hitting the target and getting some favorable calls, and that's what happened with Blair.
So Tom Lampkin, the batter, takes down low ball 1. If you don't know, you're watching Fox Sports New York right now. First game of the doubleheader.
We'll have game 2 as well. Rick Reed will pitch for New York. Darren Oliver for the Cardinals.
Outside, 2-0. So Tom Lampkin, who struck out his first time up, taking on Willie Blair. It's a nasty pitch right there. Hitting the corner and going off the plate. Bob Apodaca has to be impressed so far. Sitting next to Bob is Bobby Floyd.
Look at the bite on this breaking ball. Similar to the way a guy like Al Leiter or another good left-hander would break one off around the ankles of a right-hand hitter. Seem to see that more from left-handers than right-handers.
Fouled off, 2-2. Tom Robson still visiting with his mom, who's ailing, and Bobby Floyd, who has been a long-time employee of the Mets in the minor leagues. I believe he runs the instruction in the minor leagues. I know he travels around quite a bit. Bobby has joined the ball club to replace Tom for the time being. 2-2 on Tom Lampkin. Up high. 3-2.
What we've seen so far is the Willie Blair who won 16 games for the Tigers last year.
Bob Apodaca looking on as Lampkin waits for the 3-2 pitch. He didn't check his swing. Blair has looked terrific in this ball game, along with Donovan Osborne. We have no score. The Mets and the Cardinals. And we'll be back.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Gillette Mach 3, the first triple blade razor. That is not Bank One Ballpark. That is an airplane hangar at LaGuardia over to the left of your screen. Sure looks like the Bob, though, at least from the outside.
Well, you're ripping it now that you're away.
Now, why do you interpret that as a rip? I'm simply pointing out a comparison.
Yes, he did. When we were there, Howie and I were on the field, and Howie's first line was, "This looks like an airplane hangar."
Yeah, the most beautiful airplane hangar I've ever seen. I like the place. Why is that a rip? I just said it's shaped like an airplane hangar. That's all.
Well, it's 0-2 on Todd Hundley. Hundley 0 for 1 in this ball game, batting .184. Struck out his first time up. Breaking ball misses down low, so it's 1-2. Keep in mind, just a few years from now, there's going to be a beautiful ballpark here in Flushing. Retractable roof. Did they get your approval on the plans?
Didn't ask.
Pop foul. So it's 1-2 on Todd Hundley. Same two teams go at it again tomorrow night. Another doubleheader here at Shea. Come on out, watch Mark McGwire take on the Mets. Todd Hundley striking out for the second time in this ball game. One down here in the bottom of the 5th.
Well, Todd's expression says it all there. He is completely befuddled as a right-handed batter this year, and the numbers bear that out. 13 strikeouts now and 14 at-bats left-handed. Last time he was out swinging. This time Osborne catches the inside corner on him.
So Todd Hundley back in the dugout. The batter now, Luis Lopez. He'll be followed by Ray Ordonez. Lopez hits the ball hard. Right at Ordaz.
And that's still without a hit off of Donovan Osborne. Now Todd's at the point of explaining the at-bats from the right side. He's got to get somebody to listen to his anguish.
That was frustration the way he threw his hand up in the air and walked away. Looking at the crowd at Shea Stadium. Ray Ordonez steps in and takes a ball. So it's 1-0 on the Mets shortstop. There's the strike, 1-1. And the 1-1 pitch. Ordonez puts it in play. Ordaz to the big guy, McGwire. That'll do it for Ordonez in the match. They go quietly. They're in the bottom of the fifth. Donovan Osborne with a no-hitter so far, and we'll be back. Well, back here at Shea Stadium, no score. The Cardinals and the Mets. Everything is quiet, including Mark McGwire's bat so far. One hit in the game. The Cardinals have that hit. Speaking of heavy hitters, now back with the play-by-play, Howie Rose.
Oh, well, thank you. There's the heaviest hitter in baseball, at least in terms of attention and output in the home run department. McGwire with 49. And if he does that one more time on request or otherwise, he'll have 3 straight 50 home run seasons, the first ever to do it. And the Mets hope that if he does it, we certainly assume that he will, it's any time from Saturday on through the rest of the season.
Not many hitters with over 50 home runs more than once, but our buddy Ralph Kiner, our partner, he did it. When you think of what Ralph Kiner did in home run department, 7 straight years leading the National League. It's incredible.
1-0 to Donovan Osborne, leading off the 6th against Willie Blair. And Osborne pops it up to the left side. Ray Ordonez there. That's the first out in the 6th inning. The only hit of the ball game so far belongs to Ray Langford, who led off the 2nd with a ground ball single off of Blair. Willie Blair has not walked a batter. He has struck out 5. And Osborne working on a no-hitter himself through 5.
Both of these pitchers throwing the ball very well, but Bobby Valentine has to be very impressed with this right-hander. It was a great expression of Bobby Valentine's face earlier in the game when Blair struck out McGwire.
Now it's Luis Ordaz who grounded to short his first time up, and the comebacker handled by Blair, and there are 2 men away.
Now take a look at the Jeep game summary, and the story is pitching.
Yeah, 1 hit.
Unbelievable. Langford 1 for 2. He's got a single. McGwire 0 for 2 with the strikeout. Blair and Osborne so far the story here in the first game.
First of a doubleheader, and tomorrow night there will be another double dip here at Shea Stadium, necessitated by consecutive rainouts in May. Delino DeShields flied to right, struck out looking, and takes a strike at the knees. 0-1. Delino DeShields eligible to leave the Cardinals, hoping to stay there long term. Takes the breaking ball. 1-1.
Well, Tony La Russa told me before the ball game that he can walk. He's going to be expensive, but he has admitted that he loves playing in St. Louis.
1 ball, 2 strikes now to DeShields.
What do you think McGwire is responsible for as far as attendance, not only in St. Louis, but around the baseball world?
Certainly a big chunk of tonight's gate, tomorrow's as well. They would have done well anyway this time of year, but they'll put some extra people in here. And the 1-2 right back to Blair. And Willie Blair has been magnificent through 6 innings. He's allowed only 1 base runner while striking out 5. The Mets, though, have yet to come up with a hit off of Donovan Osborne. Last of the 6th inning.
And this is how the inning ended. We'll take a look at Delino DeShields batting from our chase cam. He bounces the ball back to Willie Blair. Blair's been pitching well and has scored 1, 2, 3. So it's been Blair against Donovan Osborne.
And now Blair will try and help himself offensively. He became a base runner in the 3rd inning, drawing a walk. And this is the Coors Light Silver Bullet 6th, and so Brian Boyle from New Jersey is our lucky fan. If Met homers this inning, Brian gets dinner for 2 at the All-Star Cafe. Low to Blair, 1-0. Following Blair, it'll be Tony Phillips and Jermaine Allensworth. Osborne has not allowed a hit. 1 ball, 1 strike to Blair. He has walked 2, struck out 4. Matt Franco reached on an error by Delino DeShields, the only other man to reach base for New York. And the 1-1 to short right, but that's where Jordan was stationed. And there's one out in the home sixth.
Nothing's more depressing than to come out to a ballpark to see home runs and you see a pitcher's duel breaks out.
It's fine with Dave Duncan. Duncan, the pitching coach of the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, the fans here hoping for some fireworks, predominantly from the Mets. But Donovan Osborne has allowed none of that so far.
If we end up with about 50,000 here tonight, 49,000 come out to see home runs.
1-0 on Tony Phillips. Fly to right, rounded into a double play. He will play in at least 3 of the 4 games. There's the first base hit for the Mets as Tony Phillips dumps one into left center. So with 1 out in the 6th inning, Donovan Osborne can't forget about any no-hit dreams, as can Dave Duncan. They'll simply turn their attention to the rest of the ball game. So Phillips a base runner and Jermaine Allensworth coming up.
Osborne challenging Phillips, gets the ball in his kitchen, but Phillips is still able to muscle the ball into the outfield. So Phillips getting the first hit of the ball game for the Mets. Another look. And you'll see Osborne's reaction. Well, you know, I think deep down, if you get even past the 3rd inning without allowing a hit, you think maybe. When you get to the 7th inning, I'm going to get it.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about that now. He's got a runner on first and is behind Allensworth here, 1-0. Allensworth fouls it off the other way. So let's look at our Aflac trivia question. And then the answer, because as we very strongly hinted before, this question revolved around Cardinals starter Donovan Osborne, and he's still in the hunt for this. More than 2 years since a complete game shutout authored by a Cardinals starter.
I'll bet there have been pitchers pitching for Tony La Russa that had shutouts into the 7th inning and got hooked.
Russa used 6 pitchers in the 10-inning game in Chicago yesterday, so that's another place the Mets have an advantage here in this doubleheader. Allensworth calls for time. I mean, you always figure when you're coming into a doubleheader, your bullpen is probably a little bit better rested than Tony La Russa's just because of the way he sends pitchers in and out of ball games late. Well, yesterday, as we mentioned, 6 pitchers. Bobby Valentine got John Franco in to save it from Masato Yoshii. Dennis Cook chipped in with a strikeout. Off the hand, so Phillips has to stay put. Allensworth retired, 2 men away. La Russa has no pitching concerns yet in this game. That's how good Donovan Osborne's been.
Mentioned now, Tony La Russa does a lot of work for animals. He has his own animal rescue mission out there in California. Huge dog and cat lover, and on the other side of the field, Bobby Valentine's a guy with 4 dogs. Big Mark McGwire, it's a terrific calendar that they put out to raise money for the animal rescue mission. Big Mark McGwire's in it. Your buddy Wayne Gretzky's in it. Your good friend Oprah Winfrey's in it.
We're close. 0-1 to Matt Franco.
Martha Stewart. All with their dogs.
Two outs in the 6th. Phillips leading from first. And Osborne with a fastball in front of Franco. No balls, 2 strikes. Missed away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Donovan Osborne turning in his best performance since coming off the disabled list 2 weeks ago. It was a 10-5 winner his last time out. That was against Pittsburgh. And Phillips back to first. So it'll be a 1-2 pitch to Franco. Phillips leading from first. And the off-speed pitch just missed.
Pretty good pitch from Osborne. He wanted that pitch. Good breaking ball. Matt Franco had his doubts. He only wanted to hear what he wanted to hear. Watch Franco. Turns that left ear towards the home plate umpire.
And a line drive, base hit to right field for Franco. Phillips will hold on at second as Jordan, who has a real good arm, gets to the ball quickly. But now the Mets, for the first time today, have a runner in scoring position. Runners at first and second. 2 men out, and Mike Piazza coming up. So as much of a struggle as these types of situations had been for Piazza up until about the last 2 weeks, well, things have changed.
Well, all you have to do is check his history, and he's a guy that has driven in runs, and a lot of them key runs. Mike and New York perfect together. Well, we've seen a lot of signs out here the last 2 nights.
And the first delivery off the outside corner. Piazza has hit Osborne well in the past. He's 6 for 18 against him lifetime. Cardinals play Piazza deep and straight away in the outfield. Straight up on the infield as well. Osborne has allowed 2 hits in this inning. The first hits he's allowed in this game. The Cardinals have just 1 against Willie Blair. And you see they're straight up against Piazza. Shadows no longer a factor now. Low, 2-0. This is over the course of Piazza's career, not this season. Right up there among the very best in both leagues.
Very important stat. Clutch hitting. Batting .315 in clutch situations.
And the 2-0 fouled away. And as much as pitchers have worked Piazza inside, Osborne has basically stayed away from him here.
One thing we have not seen Mike do as consistently as he's done in the past is hit the ball to the right side of the field and hit it over the fence. As a member of the Dodgers, you can recall him hitting a number of balls a long way to right field.
His bases loaded double the other night was up the alley in right center. Well hit and went to the wall. Here's the 2-1. And now the count even. So Piazza has flied to center and struck out, trying to get the Mets on top. The Cubs have won their game. They beat the Giants 7-3. Donovan Osborne, who's had a nightmare career physically, including this year, spending a couple of months on the disabled list. Actually 3 months exactly. In his best performance of the season so far, he's 2-2 to Piazza with 2 out. Phillips at second, Matt Franco at first. And the 2-2 pitch. Got him! So Piazza goes down on strikes and the side retired. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. Osborne now has 5 strikeouts. And at the end of 6, we're still scoreless. Well, this may be the first of a doubleheader, but we've actually got a tripleheader for you here on Fox Sports New York, because Jim Salmon and the Anaheim Angels continue their hunt for a playoff spot as they face the Detroit Tigers. Baseball Thursday starting at 10, following our Mets doubleheader coverage right here on Fox Sports New York. Obviously, with a twilight doubleheader starting at 5 p.m. our time, it'll probably be somewhere after 10 that we get to that game between the Tigers and the Angels. So we will join you in progress from Edison Field of Anaheim. McGwire will bat second in this inning. Willie Blair has been absolutely tremendous. They could not have expected anything close to what Willie Blair has given the Mets so far tonight. I mean, after all, he has now retired 15 men in a row. His only appearances for the Mets, all 4 of them, had been in relief. He's into the 7th inning now. That's as long as he went in his last start back on the 27th of July for the Diamondbacks. And a breaking ball off the plate to Brian Jordan. The only hit so far off of Blair. A leadoff single by Ray Langford in the 2nd inning. McGwire will continue to measure Blair from the on-deck circle. 2 balls, no strikes.
Okay.
Brian Jordan started this game tied for 6th in National League hitting. And a fly ball well hit to left center. Allensworth to the wall. It's gone. A home run for Brian Jordan. And the Cardinals lead 1-0. The home run ball has been Willie Blair's downfall all season. This is the 29th home run he's allowed.
Oh, Brian Jordan got a pitch he could drive. It was up, might have been out of the strike zone, and he crushes the ball over the left field wall about 396 feet from home plate.
So here's McGwire. Breaking ball. Did he swing? No, according to Bill Hahn, the first base sunk. But for Brian Jordan, home run number 20. Now has a 7-game hitting streak. Here's the guy everybody's come to see. And the 1-0 fouled straight back.
His first 2 at-bats today, Mark McGwire. This is the first one. Take strike 3. And in the 4th inning, he's the ball pretty good. Looks like he hit off the end of bat. Alfonso making the grab. They're going away.
And the 1-1 misses away. Blair threw him a slider, and now he's behind in the count 2-1. But he's handled McGwire well, not only today, but during the course of their careers. McGwire now just 2 for 18 against Willie Blair. And the 2-1 pitch. Breaking ball hit deep to left field. Will it stay in the yard? Hundley to the wall. Number 50 for Mark McGwire.
You don't see that animation from him like that. He threw that right arm up in the air.
He is the first player in Major League history to hit 50 home runs in 3 consecutive years. 2-0 St. Louis. But a big piece of baseball history for Big Mac. And even though he's put the Mets 2 runs behind, listen to this ovation. This crowd wants him to take a curtain call. Ray Langford fouls it off.
Only in New York.
I have never seen this at Shea Stadium. The crowd hoping that an opposing player would take a curtain call after putting the Mets 2 runs behind. And now that clamoring has calmed down. So Mark McGwire has 50 home runs.
If he could hit number 50 in St. Louis, you know he'd love to hit it in New York.
Well, this won't be a hat trick. This will stay in the yard. Allensworth there. And that's the first down here in the 7th inning as Langford flies to center.
When he went into the dugout, he hugged Tony La Russa. La Russa has been an important part of McGwire's career, and McGwire certainly has interested La Russa for years. And there's the home run. McGwire hoping. Now watch his arm go up in the air. Number 50. You don't see McGwire do that very often after hitting a home run. Probably the greatest home run hitter of all time, Mark McGwire.
1 ball, no strikes to Willie McGee. So Willie Blair has now given up 30 home runs on the year, 2 in this inning.
Watch him hug Tony La Russa in the dugout. He's in St. Louis because of the manager, and he loves it there.
Alfonso from his rear end throws out McGee. Good play, Edgardo Alfonso. Well, Mark McGwire not only has 50 home runs, it's the fastest 50, or at least he ties Roger Maris and Babe Ruth with this one.
Now, this wasn't the Ruthian or the McGwire-like shot we've become used to. Now, it just gets over the wall, but he is so strong. Usually McGwire hits those home runs. He calmly goes around the bases. That was a great shot of him throwing that right arm up in the air. Home run number 50 for big Mark McGwire.
Maris and Ruth each got to 50 in 125 games, and now so has McGwire. We salute you. 0-2 to Tatis.
Well, the fans came to Shea Stadium to see it, and he delivered. And he said in the press conference, when you get to 50, you have a chance. And he got to 50. Or the fastest to 50? Well, he's right there with Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, Jimmy Fox, Hank Greenberg, and Mickey Mantle. How about 50 home runs in 125 games? Maris, Ruth, and McGwire.
Missed with a slider. 2-2 to Tatis. So the Mets trailing 2-0 now. And although McGwire can exhale, his work isn't completely done.
Now, McGwire has played in 118 games. His team has been in 125.
Again, Blair misses with a slider and the count full.
Tony La Russa told me before the game that it depends on how long the games go in the doubleheader, whether or not Mark will play all four here at Shea. He's hoping to have him play all four.
And the payoff pitch on the way to Tatis. Breaking ball got him. So Blair settles down after giving up the back-to-back homers to Jordan and McGwire. Time to stretch at Shea. McGwire may be forcing those record books to expand.
You're watching Mets baseball on Fox Sports New York.
Last half inning, Mark McGwire stepped into the record book, the first player to hit 50 home runs in 3 consecutive years. The man who caught home run number 50, Mike Shilsey of Yonkers, New York. Mike, you're still pumped.
I'm still pumped. I'll tell you, that was something. I was mobbed by a bunch of people who wanted this ball.
Well, why don't we show the ball to the folks at home so they can get a good look at number 50 now. We talked about it in the pregame, and I know some people have talked to you already. There's a standing offer of $10,000 for that ball. Have you thought about it?
Haven't thought about it. I think I'll talk to Mr. McGwire and see what he wants to do with it, and maybe we'll work something out.
Well, you know what? That's the best approach. Talk to the guy who set the record, see what he wants to do. A little bit of memorabilia for Mike. Hey, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, fellas, big moment out here in the bleachers for this guy.
All right, Matty, thank you.
Mark has been quoted as saying if he does break the record and the ball is caught in the stands, he will not pay for it. He will not pay cold cash like Howie would.
1-2 on Alfonso, and he pops the ball up. Delino to Shields, the second baseman there, and there's one out. So Alfonso now 0 for 2 with a walk, and that'll bring up Todd Hundley. So with McGwire having gone deep, the attention here really shifts, probably more so to the game than it has so far. And of course, McGwire's home run increasing the Cardinals' lead to 2. The Mets with only 2 hits off of Donovan Osborne. And the Cubs, remember, have already won their game. 0-1 to Hundley, who has already struck out twice.
It's been tough, especially from the right side of the plate for Todd Hundley. That's the first strikeout in this game. And you jump to the 5th inning, same result. Todd taking a pitch for strike 3.
And the off-speed pitch misses. 1 ball, 1 strike now. 13 out of 14 times to the plate. Right-handed, he has struck out. But he won't strike out here. He puts it in play. A lot of hang time. And it's the center fielder Langford to make the catch. 2 men away. Well, Mets fans, how do you like this deal? Show up at Shea tomorrow night for free admission to the Pepsi picnic area. The first 600 fans with a Pepsi can or bottle are admitted to the Pepsi picnic area at Shea Stadium every Friday for free. And the Friday night action continues with a doubleheader tomorrow night with McGwire and the Cardinals. You want to get out there as early as possible and see if you can get some BP souvenirs. Luis Lopez, 0-for-2. So Todd's frustrations continue. Mets with only 2 hits off of Osborne. On the outside corner, 1-1 to Luis Lopez. Rick Reed and Darren Oliver will pitch the second game. And a liner the other way. 3rd hit for the Mets, the first for Lopez. So Luis Lopez aboard with 2 outs, and that'll bring up Ray Ordonez. Donovan Osborne now at the century mark in terms of his pitch count. Told you about some of the physical problems that he's had in addition to missing all of '94 with a shoulder injury. He was on the DL the next year with a bad elbow. Then he had bad ribs, car accident the next year. Last year he missed 4 months with groin and hernia problems. But he has been terrific this afternoon as he throws strike 1 to Ordonez. That's not a player. That's the guy we just showed you who caught number 50.
He's holding a press conference.
Imagine if he gets to 61 or 62. Fouled away, 0-2 to Ordonez. Of course, you might remember that when Roger Maris was, John Olerud waits on deck, when Maris was 1 away from breaking Ruth's record after they had gotten to 60. I think it was a $5,000 award that was put up for home run number 61 should have come, and a fellow named Sal Durante was in the right field stands at Yankee Stadium on the 1st of October 1961. Cashed in $5,000. The 0-2 to Ordonez, line foul. He was out in front. Ray has tailed off offensively. Only 2 hits in his last 14 times up. And that batting average up in the mid-260s last week. And La Russa's so happy with what he's seen from Osborne so far. Even after having been on the DL for 3 months with a bad shoulder, Tony La Russa has nothing doing in the bullpen. Of course, as we mentioned before, he did use 6 pitchers yesterday. Through the hole for Ordonez. So now the tying runs are on board. The go-ahead run will come to the plate. John Olerud will pinch hit against Osborne. So Osborne's going to have to deal with the league's leading hitter. And again, La Russa with no option except to have Osborne pitch to Olerud. Only now will the call go to the bullpen. And there will be some milling around in the Cardinals pen. So Olerud will hit for Willie Blair.
Boy, if you're managing the Mets, you can send Olerud to the plate with a lot of confidence facing the left-hander. Tony La Russa getting his pin up.
Olerud 2 for 7 in his career against Donovan Osborne. 2-0 Cardinals here in the 7th. Inside, 1-0. So Willie Blair, who had retired 15 in a row before giving up back-to-back homers, will leave having allowed 2 runs on only 3 hits. One ball, 1 strike now to Olerud, who has a .351 average. Good for the lead in the National League by 7 points over Dante Bichette of the Colorado Rockies. So he hasn't hit the left-handers as well for the last couple of months. And the 1-1 pitch. And a bouncer to McGwire. The inning is over. No runs, a pair of 2-out singles, and at the end of 7 at Shea in Game 1, the Cardinals in front. New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by Discover Card. It pays to discover. Accept it where you see the Novus sign. Just about 7 o'clock. Another hour or so of sunlight remain, but a whole lot of baseball. This is Game 1 of a twilight doubleheader. And McGwire has gone deep, his 50th home run of the year. So the countdown continues minute by minute. Some quick revision.
I mentioned earlier that if he didn't hit it in St. Louis, and Tony La Russa said he will not shortchange the Cardinal fans. McGwire will play every game at Busch Stadium. Well, if you can't hit it at Busch, you can't pick a better place to hit it than New York. He will be mobbed after this game and mobbed after the second game. And even the guy who caught the ball was having a press conference.
And the crowd, and it's well over 40,000 here, as appreciative of McGwire's home run, more so, I think, than any other opponent's home run in the history of this ballpark. So now with the Mets trailing 2-0 as we go to the 8th, Bobby Valentine goes to his bullpen. Willie Blair went 7, gave up 3 hits and a couple of solo homers. So Mel Rojas throws a fastball away to Tom Lampkin. Lampkin, Donovan Osborne, and Luis Ordaz, the scheduled hitters here in the 8th inning. And a fly ball to center field. Allensworth with plenty of room. And there's 1 out. So Rojas gets his first batter. Donovan Osborne coming up. And football fans, you can get the real inside scoop and hear from the players and coaches of the New York Football Giants. With the season opener closing in, you need to find out who's making the team and who's hurt, whether or not Big Blue can win the NFC East again. Get the answers on the Giants training camp report tonight at 11 on the MSG Network. So Donovan Osborne, who has allowed only 4 hits, shutting out the Mets through 7th, will take his turn at bat against Mel Rojas. 0-1. Who's lined out and popped up. Osborne out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Fouled away, 0-2.
University of Las Vegas also gave the major leagues Matt Williams, who will be here for Beanie Baby Day on Saturday. Also Sunday and Monday.
All the excitement about McGwire could have been about Matt Williams in 1994. Ordonez stays with it. 2 men away.
Yeah, plenty of seats still available, so come on out to Shea Stadium. Watch the Mets play some baseball. Mets playing some good ball. And here's a guy you want to pay to see. Ray Ordonez. He does it his way. You don't see many shortstops go down and catch the ball like that. So come on out to Shea Stadium for the Beanie Babies and for Ordonez.
You've heard of in-between hops. Ray just made his in-between move.
Oh, he's an exciting player to watch.
He's got a bag full of them.
I mean, he's worth the price of admission to watch him play defense. How many guys can you say that about? It's usually the home run ball.
So in other words, if they stationed Ordonez out over the left field fence to go after some of McGwire's long balls, then you'd see the best of both worlds. Luis Ordaz takes a fastball way inside.
If you remember in April, the Mets weren't trying very well. They went out, they put together a pretty good ball club, and then they got Mike Piazza, and the place came alive. The energy level is sky high here at Shea Stadium now.
1-1 to Ordaz. Ordaz called up from the Cardinals AAA Memphis affiliate on the 2nd of this month. Cardinals on a 9-game road trip. They split a pair in Chicago. And after these 2 doubleheaders, they'll go to Pittsburgh for 3. That's popped up. Ordonez heading back, taking charge, and now yielding. That's rare footage.
He's yielding.
Get a good look at that. You may not see it for a while.
Ray Ordonez going to have to talk to him when they get in the dugout.
So a filibuster by Allensworth pays off. Ordonez said, all right, you take it. New York York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by your Tri-State Ford dealers. Expect more, get more. Let your Tri-State quality Ford dealers show you why there's more to afford. So we go to the last of the 8th inning. Still some sunlight, but the Mets have not been able to find much against Donovan Osborne, who has allowed only 4 hits through the first 7 innings. And from the very top of the big scoreboard at Shea Stadium, we go to work in the last of the 8th inning. Top of the order for the Mets as well.
Talking about the energy level here last inning, Howie, kind of reminds you of the way things were in the 80s. The excitement here at Shea Stadium.
Now, how many rooms can that guy work when he's not the biggest star in the house? Not tonight, Jerry.
Looks like Newman with him. There's the star right there. Mark McGwire hitting home run number 50, and a huge star coming into Shea Stadium now. Jerry Seinfeld.
Tony Phillips takes a strike from Osborne.
Jerry's probably upset. He was probably in traffic when he heard Murph call that home run on the radio.
I guess he just couldn't beat the Van Wyck. Elaine had it, but Jerry couldn't do it. 1-1 now to Phillips, who's 1 for 3. Phillips had the first hit for the Mets off of Osborne in the 6th inning. And the change by Osborne. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Donovan Osborne has walked 2 and struck out 5. All 4 Mets hits have been singles. They've come 2 apiece in the last 2 innings. Towards the line, Jordan over. And Brian Jordan retires Phillips. 1 man away here in the home 8th. Jordan's home run has already been all but forgotten.
Well, you know, Tony La Russa said that's a very sensitive issue with Mark McGwire. After a game, when the media would go to McGwire and want him to talk about a home run, he would say, so-and-so got a couple hits. He was as important or more important to me than me in the game. You talk to him, then come to me. He's been very sensitive towards his teammates.
Nate Allensworth takes a strike at the knees from Osborne. Allensworth 0 for 3, fly to left, struck out looking, popped to first. That's high, 1-1. St. Louis Cardinals not really a factor now as far as the wild card goes. They're 9 out. They also have 5 teams in front of them. And chopper right at Tatis. Donovan Osborne just sailing along. 2 out, nobody on here at the bottom of the 8th inning.
Yeah, Osborne hasn't gotten enough credit in this ball game. He's allowed 4 hits. He has shut out the Mets. He has pitched very well, mixing up his pitches, and I'm sure Tony La Russa very happy with him. And Mark McGwire will be sensitive towards Donovan Osborne after the ball game if he goes on and wins it. And Dave Duncan, the pitching coach with the Cardinals, who's done a fine job. He's been a pitching coach with Tony La Russa for I don't know how many years, all the way back to the Oakland days, Chicago White Sox days.
That Franco flies to Langford in center, and the Mets are done in the 8th inning. Osborne gets them in order. McGwire will hit 3rd in the 9th inning. He already has number 50.
The first Mets manager was the beloved old professor himself, Casey Stengel.
I always loved Casey Stengel, and now that he joined the Mets, I even love him more.
Always the fan favorite, Casey was unique.
I think I made 15 mistakes this year reading the placards instead of watching the pitcher or watching the hitter.
And it was Casey that first coined the phrase,
amazing, amazing, amazing.
For more great Mets memories, tune to Fox Sports New York.
The amazing, amazing Mets.
Fox Sports New York is scoring big with the Metro Stars. Lalas, Ramos, and Miola lead the locals into battle against the reigning champs of Major League Soccer, the DC United. Saturday at 7:30 only on Fox Sports New York.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by the Dime, the bank that's with you all the way. And we hope you'll be with us all the way through this doubleheader at Shea Stadium.
And don't forget, The Arizona Diamondbacks coming in this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday afternoon game here at Shea. Seats still available. Mets playing good ball, trying to get the wild card slot in the playoffs, and Bobby Valentine leading the charge. So come on out to Shea, watch the Mets play some baseball.
Mets start today 2 games ahead of the Cubs in the loss column, but the Cubs won 7-3 against the Giants. And Greg McMichael will enter this game in the 9th inning with the Mets trailing the Cardinals 2-0.
And McMichael with a 3.98 ERA. He's been in 49 games. Started the year off with the Mets. Took a trip to Los Angeles to hang around with the Dodgers for a little while and then came back.
All but 12 of his appearances came with the Mets. And Delino DeShields swings through the change. 0-1. Top of the order for the Redbirds. DeShields followed by 2 Cardinal hitters who have provided the offense. Brian Jordan and then Mark McGwire, who went back-to-back in the 7th inning. Nothing and 2 to DeShields. Shields was saying when we were in St. Louis last week, he says, man, I really hope that in my effort to come back to St. Louis next season, they don't judge me by these last 50 games, having been on the disabled list for over a month.
But they will.
Well, you know, what he was saying, though, is, you know, he hopes that they take into account the fact that, hey, this guy's coming back off of knee surgery and perhaps under different circumstances might not have bothered coming back.
Well, they have to make a decision one way or the other on DeShields. And he would like to stay in St. Louis. They also have Pat Kelly on the Cardinal team. And Tony La Russa is very high on him.
Yeah, he's used Kelly at other positions. He's used him at third base, even used him in the outfield.
He likes him a lot. He liked him when he was a Yankee. There's Pat.
Played in the first game against the Mets last week in St. Louis. The game Al Leiter started. So it'll be a 2-2 to DeShields leading off the 9th. Ordonez. Wide throw, but Franco applied the tag.
There's no other shortstop that goes down on that knee like Ordonez. He said it allows him to stop faster than if he stayed on his feet. Watch this. DeShields has good speed. Ordonez, there's the slide and the throw to first. An exciting player. The Cardinals are used to an exciting shortstop because they had Ozzie Smith. But I think Ordonez has a much stronger arm, or at least I should say a stronger arm than Ozzie Smith. But Ozzie was in a class by himself.
Brian Jordan homered off of Mets starter Willie Blair to break a scoreless tie leading off the 7th. 0-1 on the former Atlanta Falcon. Drew the wrath of the Cardinal fans last week in St. Louis during a pregame presentation. The 0-1 to Jordan breaks low. They had an interview session. In fact, kids would line up and ask Brian Jordan questions, and it was played on the scoreboard and through the sound system. And he was asked who his favorite football team is. Of course, the Rams are in St. Louis now, you know, and he said America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And did he ever get booed? Fouled away. 1-2 to Jordan. No boos for this guy, though. He is the toast of baseball.
Here, see the way he is taking that deep breath and exhaling. All part of getting ready to hit, trying to relax. He gets to the plate. He takes that deep breath.
And the 1-2 to Jordan. Did he go around? Yes, he did. So McMichael picks up a strikeout. Here comes McGwire.
Listen to the music.
McGwire made baseball history with his last swing. First player ever to hit 50 home runs 3 straight seasons. Hits this one on the ground. He doesn't do that often.
Well, if you missed it, Here it is, 7th inning. Blair throwing to McGwire, hits the ball towards the end of the bat, but still a home run. Nobody can hit the ball far. Look at the excitement, and you don't see that animation from Mark McGwire, and the hug to Tony La Russa.
Well, he should be enjoying himself because there's one major difference between McGwire and Roger Maris. Just about everyone is rooting for McGwire to break Maris's record. Very few, relatively speaking, were pulling for Maris in 1961.
That was too bad. He went through a lot because he wasn't protected. Mark is being protected. It might have been his decision to have the press conference first day in town, and he meets with the media after the game, and very pleasant. I had an opportunity to interview him with Ralph Kiner last year, and they were great together.
It'll be a 1-1 to McGwire. So 2-1 now to McGwire. Maris minus 12. At least to break it. 11 to tie. This will stay in the park. Allensworth and Hundley, and it's Allensworth to make the catch. So the side retired. McGwire has number 50. Now the Mets will try and come back. Last of the 9th inning, Piazza, Alfonso, and Hundley will be the batters. 2-0 Cardinals. We go to the last of the 9th inning. The Mets trail 2-0. Of course, this is the first of a twilight doubleheader. Let's see what else is coming up for the Mets on our Delta Airlines schedule. With Delta, you're on top of the world. So we'll have Game 2. Channel 9 picks up the twin bill tomorrow night. And then the Arizona Diamondbacks come in, and everybody gets a piece of that one. Fox Network will have Saturday's game, Channel 9 Sundays, and then we'll be with you at 1:30 in the afternoon, preceded by a half hour by Matt Loughlin and Cannon. Mets Game Time. So McGwire and the Cardinals have done the shining so far, and Donovan Osborne is through after pitching 8 shutout innings, allowing only 4 hits. A former Met, Juan Acevedo, will try and protect Donovan Osborne's 3rd win of the year. Acevedo sent to the Cardinals by the Mets in spring training, right near the end of spring training, for left-hand pitcher Rigo Beltran.
Well, he has a good arm. His biggest problem is he's been injury prone. You see the record, 6-2, 42 strikeouts in 77 innings. I always felt he was going to be a dominant strikeout pitcher because of the strength of his arm.
Well, you talked about the injuries. He was on the disabled list between the 18th of July and the 15th of this month because of a strained right elbow. The Mets were not sold on Acevedo's ability to pitch successfully out of the bullpen because of his history of injuries. And Joe McIlvaine, the former GM, used to talk about Acevedo's build and say that maybe he wouldn't be able to get loose quickly enough, often enough. Now it'll be Piazza to face Juan Acevedo as we go to the last of the 9th inning. Mets need 2 to tie. And a fastball inside, 1-0. Piazza, Alfonso, and Todd Hundley. On the outside corner. So 1-1 to Mike Piazza, who twice has struck out. Also hit a fly ball to center. Nothing offensive from this group yet tonight. Just 4 singles. Acevedo misses with a fastball. 2-1. Mets have won 10 of their last 13 and 13 out of their last 18. And Piazza has handled Acevedo before. They'll need a big 9th inning to improve those numbers. Pop foul. McGwire looking for a play, and he's going to have room. 1 out. So Piazza 0 for 4. So 1 out in the 9th inning. Edgardo Alfonso coming up. Acevedo fell behind Piazza but came back to get him.
Piazza had a good pitch to hit and just got under it, popped out to McGwire in foul territory.
Inside and low to Fonzie. Frustration for McGwire. And Alfonso as well as he gets jammed. And Ordaz puts it away, and the Mets are down to their last out.
And we'll take a look at Mark McGwire's home run once again. That's our Dodge drive of the game. If you came out to see home run number 50, you got a chance to see it because that's it. And watch that right arm go up in the air. He's happy. He said in the press conference today, if you get to 50 before September, you got a chance.
Yeah, he's been saying that all year.
But I thought he handled it very well. Somebody asked me, he said, I said 50. I've got to stay with my statement.
Yeah. So here's Hundley now, 0 for 3, the Mets' last hope. He bats left-handed for the first time and takes a strike. And Donovan Osborne giving Tony La Russa a huge lift because their bullpen had been stretched to the max, although Acevedo worked 2 scoreless innings yesterday. So this is something La Russa's finding out about Acevedo, who's ahead 0-2, trying to work a 1-2-3 ninth here and show Tony La Russa, hey, I can work a couple of days in a row and be effective. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Acevedo deals, and Hundley strikes out. The Cardinals have won the opener. And Donovan Osborne picks up his 3rd win of the year, working 8 shutout innings. Mark McGwire with number 50.
Well, the story is Mark McGwire. Donovan Osborne is part of that story. He did a nice job, and McGwire will defer to Osborne when talking to the media. He'll want the media to talk to Osborne first, but he can't duck it. He's the story of baseball, and he has been all year. Mark McGwire, home run number 50.
McGwire won't talk until after game 2. That was prearranged. Generally, between games of a doubleheader, only the manager talks to the media, maybe the winning pitcher. But Mark McGwire will have plenty of questions to answer, and probably, at least as they reflect on game 1, be pretty positive ones as he continues to close in on the most cherished record probably in all of sports. He has hit the spot tonight. 11 more and he'll hit Maris, 12 more and he'll be all by himself.
Well, you're looking at probably or arguably the greatest home run hitter in the history of baseball, Mark McGwire. There's Donovan Osborne, who did a nice job pitching today, helping the Cardinals win the first game of this 4-game series. Second game of the doubleheader coming up right here on Fox Sports New York.
The Mets' 3-game winning streak is over. The Cardinals win the opener 2-0. Matt Loughlin is standing by with Cardinals manager Tony La Russa.
Who, Howie, has seen all 50 of Mark McGwire's home runs this year and a bunch last year. And Tony, I'll tell you, it was a magical moment. First time a player's ever done it 3 straight years.
Well, you know, when you get a chance to witness history, I think we're all very fortunate. He's been so outstanding. He earned it. I mean, he deserves it. I'm glad he got it in front of a crowd that appreciates it, almost as good as if it had been in St. Louis.
Of course, you've seen a lot in your days in baseball. Have you ever seen anyone handle it as well as he has?
I think if anybody would be around every day since the first day of spring training, it would be amazing to them that this guy has had as much professionalism. And I think he knows, you know, he represents baseball, and he's part of getting people excited. But he has been incredible because he's been there when he strikes out or does bad. He doesn't hide.
Well, I know you want to get into the club. One quick question. A lot of people are watching. Are we going to see him in game 2?
No, I want my job.
Fair enough. Everybody wants to see Mark McGwire. And, of course, we'll have game 2 here on Fox Sports New York. And he did his part, Howie Rose, to help the Cardinals to a win in game 1.
All right, Matty, thank you. So, Mark McGwire, the first player in baseball history to homer 50 or more times in 3 consecutive seasons. Lots more coming up. Our between games activity plus game 2. We'll be back in a moment.
New York Mets baseball has been brought to you by Nobody Beats the Wiz Home Entertainment Centers, by Frost Brewed Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are, hey, beer man, and by the 68,000 professionals at Delta Airlines.
Back at Shea Stadium, we're between games 1 and 2 of this doubleheader. The Cardinals taking the opener thanks to Mark McGwire. And don't forget Brian Jordan, but clearly McGwire, the story of the first game, as he became the first player in baseball history to hit 50 home runs in 3 consecutive series. Let's check out our Coors play of the day, and I imagine you can figure out who was involved and when it happened. It's McGwire, of course, in the 7th inning. Willie Blair on the mound. Jordan had just hit a home run to make it a 1-0 game when McGwire steps into the history book and continues his assault on Roger Maris's record. The home run landing in the bleachers in left field, and one fan coming away from the pile with the ball and a souvenir that he'll treasure for quite some time. As for McGwire, he'll be content with the memories of number 50, as he's now 11 away from Roger Maris and 12 from baseball immortality. We're going to take a short time out. When we come back, it's off to the sports desk. Bill Daughtry will get you caught up on what's going on around the world of sports. Then we'll come back for game 2, so stick around.
Bill Daughtry at the sports desk. Willie Blair served up a line in the record book today. Big Mac, the first player with 50 home runs in 3 straight seasons. Number 50 helping the Cardinals pass the Mets. That was in the first game of that doubleheader tonight out at Shea Stadium. The Giants, they lost ground in the wild card race today. Ex-Giant Glenn Allen Hill with the big blow and a 7-3 Cubs win at Wrigley. This young lady pretty in pink, hoping her Cubbies are in the pink. Bottom of the 4th, Lance Johnson. He's got Tyler Houston on base. We'll watch the result right here. Johnson, a little bouncer through the hole, and Tyler Houston will come home and make it a 2-0 Cub lead. Move now to the top of the 5th. Giant third baseman Bill Miller with the good wood. This over the wall in right field, over the bleacher bums and everything else. That tied the ball game at 2. Then it was up to Bonds, Barry Bonds, with the good wood. This back-to-back, his 25th home run of the year. Goodbye, Mr. Baseball. It's 3-2 Giants. But the lead was short-lived. Cubs came storming right back. Ex-Giant Glenn Allen Hill in the pinch hitting role. This with a Goodwood, a grand slammer. That's out on the waveland of Julian Tavares, his 3rd of the year. 6-3 Cubs in the 5th. They go on to win the ball game by a 7-3 score. The Royals, they roll the Red Sox this afternoon by an 8-2 count. That at Kauffman Stadium. And Jimmy Williams, he is your Boston Red Sox manager. Mike Stanley, he's busting out the big stick right there. Going to the deep part of the ballpark, not quite in center field, but in left center field. Home run for Mr. Stanley. He was red hot, had a couple last night. Moving out to the bottom half of the inning, Terry Pendleton with the good wood. The big fella going down the left field line and in the seats. That was a 3-run shot. Put Kansas City up in this ball game 3-2. Moving now to the home 4th, 3-2, and Jermaine Dye going through the hole in right field. Terry Pendleton, he's motoring home. The big fella still carried it and beating a close play to help Kansas City take the lead 4-2. Jimmy Williams said, how do you throw a guy like that out? You didn't get him. 5-2 down the bottom of the 5th, and it's Jose Offerman teeing off, going to right center field, scoring Johnny Damon, making it a 6-2 game. The Royals win the whole thing 8-2. Mike Buddy gets the start for the New York Yankees tonight against the Twins at the Metrodome. Frankie Rodriguez with a 2-2 record. He starts for Minnesota. The game at 8 on Channel 11. The Jets and Giants meet for the 32nd time tonight at the Meadowlands. This game important to Giant head coach Jim Fossil for several reasons.
Right now, I look at it as a regular preseason game that I'm going to play our starters in more, and I want us to look good, regardless of who we're playing against. And I think the game is an emotional, or more into it for the media, the fans, and everything else. But I want, number one goal is to come away injury-free and to see our team play with intensity and play with a crispness. That's the goals.
Saints quarterback Heath Shuler, he's waiting to hear from doctors to see if his NFL career is over. Shuler with a serious foot injury, the same kind of injury that ended the career of Larry Zonka. And Dolphin receiver Yatil Green has failed to survive still another Dolphin training camp, a knee injury scratching him for a 2nd straight year. And Rick Pitino's horse has been retired to stud. Kentucky Derby contender Hallery Hunter. He broke a leg while working out for the Preakness, you may recall. Hallery Hunter's racing career is over. The race for the National League wildcard title continues. The Mets and Cardinals at Shea. Game 2 coming your way after these messages on Fox Sports New York.
Mets memories are made on Fox Sports New York.
Up the middle. What a play by Ordonez. What a circle around that one.
Lewis sits on top of the ball. Ordonez barehands it. The throw to the plate. Got him.
Mets memories happen all season long on Fox Sports New York.
Gorgeous sunset here in the metropolitan area. We are between games 1 and 2 of this twin bill. The Mets dropped the first game by a score of 2-0. And while I'm sure all Mets fans here at Shea and most of you at home were disappointed that the home club couldn't come up with a victory, taking a step back, you had to really be caught up in Mark McGwire's home run chase and hitting number 50 tonight. But the loss in the wild card standings drops the Mets into a flat tie with the Chicago Cubs. Earlier today, the Cubs defeated San Francisco by a score of 7-3, and so now the teams are tied for first in the wild card race. Keep in mind the Mets do have a one-game advantage in the loss column, and they still have tonight's nightcap to play. So if they come up with the victory in game number 2, they will be back up by a half game in the chase for the final playoff spot. Welcome back to Shea Stadium, everyone. I'm Matt Lachlan. Big crowd on hand, and while for the most part they were disappointed that the home team could not come away with the victory, they do come away with memories of Mark McGwire's 50th home run, part of a 2-home-run 7th inning on the part of the Cardinals that propelled them to the victory in game number 1 as they beat the Mets by a score of 2-0. It was a well-pitched game on both sides. Donovan Osborne, who has had his health problems this year, spent a major part of the season on the disabled list, won his 3rd game of the season, pitched brilliantly against the Mets tonight. Meanwhile, Willie Blair, making his first start for the Mets, pitched very well. They matched zeros for most of the game. But in that 7th inning, that's when things started to fall apart. As for the good stuff, well, it came early on for Blair, who is the 7th starter for this Mets team, but no room except when called on in this busy situation. And early on, he was in good form. Here he gets Lampkin swinging. In fact, he ended the first 3 innings on strikeouts. The 3rd inning, it was Delino DeShields who went down. So McGwire, Lampkin, and DeShields go down. And Blair continued to pitch well. There he gets Tatis looking at a pitch on the corner. And finally, it's Lampkin goes down again. So you really can't fault Willie Blair. This year, he is used to, though, pitching without much offensive support. That was his main problem in Arizona, resulting in that 4-15 record with the D-backs. But tonight, the Mets showed the same thing, not a lot of support. As for Blair, he was the subject of discussion to Bobby Valentine after the game. And the question was put to Bobby, did he think Willie ran out of gas in the 7th?
I don't know if he quite ran out of it. 2-0 count to Jordan. Threw a decent fastball. It was up, though, and he hit it. He threw good pitches to Mac. I thought it was the same pitch. He swung and missed that. He kind of went out and got it. Slider seemed like a decent pitch.
Not to take away from anything he did, but early on for both pitchers, do you think the pitching from shadow to light to shadow was making it tough?
Well, there wasn't a lot of hitting there for 5 innings. I guess it was only 1 hit. We had a couple liners. You know, Louis hit 1, Ray hit 1, Franco hit 1, but wasn't anything really crisp. I think the at-bats were difficult there at the beginning.
Because of the light situation?
I think it might have been tougher to see than normally.
And though he did pitch pretty well, Willie Blair absorbs the loss. Donovan Osborne picks up the victory. Former Met Juan Acevedo came on in the 9th inning and kept the Mets from getting on the board. As St. Louis comes away with the victory in the first game by a score of 2-0, the Mets limited to just 4 hits in the first game. But there are 2 to play tonight, and so hope springs eternal. The Mets will try to split this twin bill and regain that lead in the wild card race as they play game number 2 tonight here at Shea. Start of the game is set for 7:55. We'll have more at Shea Stadium as we continue to bring you both ends of the doubleheader on this great night for baseball on a beautiful evening in New York. More from Shea right after this. Back at Shea Stadium, the Mets lost the first game of this doubleheader by a score of 2-0. The big story in the game, Mark McGwire, the first person in baseball history to have 50 or more home runs in 3 consecutive seasons. Number 50 coming in the 7th inning off of Willie Blair. The Cardinals had just taken a 1-0 lead when he deposits the ball into the bleachers in left field. Big right arm goes up in the air for Big Mac. who hits number 50 and creeps a little closer to Roger Maris and a step into baseball immortality. Of course, McGwire is always expected to hit big shots. Even in batting practice, that has become a big thing, to come out early and watch the big guy take BP. We did that this afternoon. We'll take you along right now. Well, with the strains of Neil Diamond, the Brooklyn boy singing Sweet Caroline in the background, and the fans oohing and eyeing on their feet throughout batting practice. Truly a New York experience. And you know what? The top of the show, Howie Rose mentioned that we consider New York to be the universe, and the home run chase is not official until you come to New York and do it. Well, Mark McGwire, I guess, officially starts that chase of Roger Maris as he hit his 50th here at Shea in game number 1. It helped the Cardinals to a 2-0 victory. The Mets will try to bounce back behind Rick Reed, who goes for his 15th win of the season in game number 2. We're going to take a short timeout here. We'll come back with game number 2. After this timeout, Mark McGwire and company up against the Mets. Will he hit another? We'll find out. He did some damage in game number 1.